The rain was relentless that day, a cold, insistent drizzle that seemed to seep into my very bones. It was the kind of day that made the university campus feel deserted. The usually bustling walkways were empty, except for the occasional person rushing to whatever it was they needed to get to. I was late for my English literature class. My stack of textbooks in my arms started to increasingly get heavier and damp from the rain. As I hurried across the campus, a dark green Volkswagen Beetle pulled up beside me. The man behind the wheel leaned across the passenger seat. His face was a blur through the rain-streaked window. "Excuse me," he called out, his voice surprisingly pleasant. He continued with, "I'm hopelessly lost. Could you direct me to the library?" His smile was charming, boyish even, and for a moment I forgot my hurry. He wore a tan raincoat, the collar turned up against the chill, and his hair dark and wavy and was stuck to his forehead by the rain. Of course, I found myself saying, stepping closer to the car, "The library is just across the way, past that building," pointing to the building just ahead. He seemed relieved, his smile widening as he thanked me, but instead of starting the car, he continued to chat with me. He complimented my taste in literature, having spotted the title of one of my books, and we fell into a conversation about our favorite authors. His name, he said, was Ted, and he claimed to be a law student, new to the university. There was an air of confidence about him, a charisma that was hard to ignore. Yet, as we talked, a subtle unease began to creep in. His gaze lingered a little too long, his eyes scanning my face, my body with an intensity that made me uncomfortable. I almost felt violated. I shifted uncomfortably, clutching my books tighter as a strange prickling sensation ran down my spine. Something wasn't right. Suddenly, he reached out, his hand brushing against mine as he pointed out a building in the distance. "That's the one, isn't it?" he asked, his voice a touch too intimate. I recoiled instinctively, the alarm bells in my head now going off insistently. "Yes," I stammered. "That's it, I really have to go, I'm late." He looked momentarily surprised, his smile faltering for the briefest of moments before returning, full force. Of course, sorry," he said quickly. "I wouldn't want to keep you." He seemed almost too eager to agree, and his eagerness, along with the strange look in his eyes, sent a shiver down my spine. Without another word, I turned and practically ran towards the library, my heart pounding in my chest. I could feel his gaze on my back, heavy and unnerving, and I didn't slow down until I was safely inside the building. I chided myself for being foolish, for letting my imagination run wild, yet the feeling of unease remained. The encounter left me shaken, the memory of his intense gaze and his touch seared into my mind. For weeks afterward, I couldn't shake off the feeling of being watched, the echo of his voice, his oddly charming yet unsettling demeanor. I found myself scanning faces in the crowd, my senses on high alert, my heart skipping a beat every time I saw a green Volkswagen Beetle. I told a few friends about the encounter, half laughing it off as a strange but harmless incident. Their light-hearted dismissal did little to quell the unease deep within me. Years later, long after I had graduated from the university, I was watching TV and a cold dread spreading through me like a virus. The face that stared back at me, the face of a notorious serial killer, a monster who preyed on young women, was a face I knew. The name they spoke, the name that sent chills down the spines of the entire nation, was the same name that had haunted the recesses of my memory. Ted Bundy. The details of his crimes, his preferred victim profile, all aligned with chilling accuracy to that rainy day encounter on the BYU campus. The charming demeanor, the feigned vulnerability, the calculated air of confidence, it all came rushing back with terrifying clarity. The realization hit me with the force of a physical blow. I had come face to face with one of America's most notorious killers, and by some stroke of luck, I had escaped. The what-ifs haunted me. The possibility of what could have been was a constant question in my head. What if I had been more trusting? What if I kept talking with him? What if my gut instinct hadn't screamed at me to run? The guilt was a heavy burden to bear with the knowledge that other women had not been as fortunate. Looking back, I'm struck by the fragility of life, the razor-thin line that separates safety from danger. That horrifying encounter serves as a constant reminder to trust my instincts, to be vigilant, and to never underestimate the evil that can lurk beneath the surface of even the most charming facade.